Hey guys, welcome to another session of RBTL. So, continuation of this week's patch notes. I'm going to talk a bit about the changes in our summoning system, as well as my thoughts on Faithless Lidica, as well as Fire Ravi. And no, that's pretty much it. So, first things first, Faithless Lidica. Shout out to Mipples, because the game currently, as I'm doing this video, is on maintenance, so I can't do any cross-referencing into like what Gemini has in terms of like base stats. So Mipples told me that Athletica has SSB stats, which is pretty solid. I mean, it's decent speed, decent attack, decent HP. Rangers actually have like well known for like having a lot of HP. Actually, most Rangers are pretty beefy that way. Now Faithless Lidica, I think that like from my reading of the skill sets, and you know, if you guys want to take my opinion, I think that she's really massively a debuffer. Check the data mine as well, that she has pretty decent mods. S1 single target, S3 single target, S2 is AoE. One times mod on the S1, pretty standard. We'll talk about it in a sec. And then S2 AoE is 0.7. That's pretty standard. That's the same as SS Bologna, to be honest, but you know, they're totally different. But I'm just making a comparison. S3 is a 1.4 times mod, a single target. So in terms of like just nuking damage, she's not really a nuker. So I really do think that if people are gonna build her, I think high speed. I'm not 100% sure, actually, reading all her skills. I'm not 100% sure if you should push like max speed. I don't know if that's actually necessary. But in my opinion, like if I got her, which I don't actually plan on pulling for her, if I did get her, I think I would go with like high effectiveness, high HP, high speed. I think that's how I would go. Of course, if you can merit the damage, that'd be great too, but I don't think so. Judging by her, like just the base reading of this, I don't know how usable she is on a defense team. So in terms of like GVG investment, I don't know if she's a good GVG hero in terms of defense. On an offense team, she has pretty decent crowd control, so I do think that that's something we can invest in, especially players who are familiar with, you know, other games that have RTA, namely Summoner Wars, are saying that crowd control heroes are going to be vital. So that's going to be interesting. So if you are going to invest that far, that'd be great. Some people that have seen that, you know, ML Lidica's skill set and say like, oh, she's kind of underwhelming, and that's a whole other topic in and of itself. But I think that Smilegate is releasing heroes that are not as OP as when the ML Araminta, ML Baal kind of meta just came out. In terms of when ML Araminta came out, like there was hardly any counters. Like people really had to really think outside the box. They had to pull out like Fire Dingo and whatever. And that's when like gear checks started becoming very important in terms of like effect resistance on healers, etc. That was before Angelic Montmorency. And then when ML Baal came, it became like a whole cluster bomb. So judging by the past couple banners from ML Ravi, ML Basar, ML Lidica, it seems that they're all kind of like, they can fill some roles, but they're not exceeding or not pushing the meta too far. Whereas I find that the RGB meta right now is extremely interesting. But anyways, that's not to say that ML Lidica is completely useless. So let's take a look at the skill sets. S1, up to a 75% chance to decrease the hit chance, so blind, for 1 turn. I mean, useful, 75, but you know, it depends. I think that, you know, it could be better, but it's not bad. Standard debuff, I think, like an attack down, a blind, to me roughly work about the same. So there's no complaint there, but it's just kind of like okay. Let's move on. So the S2 after awakening, that's the only part I'm going to read here. So binds all enemies with sword, 85% chance to dispel 1 buff, with another 15% effect chance if you molar this, 100%. So 100% chance to dispel that 1 buff, increasing the combat readiness of the caster by 25% per target, and other allies by 5% per target. So 20% CR push for the rest of your allies, and a 100% CR push for Lidica if you're doing it on an arena team. So four members. So obviously in the GVG offensive team, if you use Lidica, you're not going to get that, but I mean, it's still good. I mean, 75% is pretty darn good. This skill cannot trigger a counter attack. I do like that. The D-spell, it can't trigger a counter attack. Now, for me, I'm kind of curious. I don't know if there's any answers out there right now. But in terms of the counter attack, I think like native counters, like so for example like ML Ken, counter set. I don't know if SSB's counterattack is considered in here because SSB's counter is a very, very, very strange one. So I'm not quite sure, and I'm assuming Elbrus can't counter this. I'm not quite sure about that. Like, does Artifact count? Again, I don't have the answers to this. Maybe I should have done more research, but from the reading of it, it's most likely that at least that like ML Ken sort of counterattack passive, Green Purgus, that kind of counterattack passive, most likely, and counterattack sets most likely won't trigger. My question is SSB's counterattack, and then what was it? Elbrus as well. Both of them are okay. So thanks. I'm actually gonna read this on the stream chat here. NDBR says, I think Elbrus and SSB passive are not considered as counters. I think so too. That's why I'm kind of questioning it. But of course, you know, people are pulling her, and even just right before the maintenance hit, I saw people pull her. So people just haven't built her yet. But it will be interesting to see, and to me, that would change a lot. In terms of like, basically, there's gonna be some damage in this. There's gonna be a one buff strip, so 1 dispel of the entire enemy team, and without a chance to get countered, and you're a light elemental hero, that might be very useful. But in my opinion, like I'm thinking it's like very niche. So almost like DJ Bazaar, most players who got him and actually built him up, you know, say that yeah, he's actually pretty niche. Like his cleanse into immunity with a CR push is very good for some fights, but it's very niche. You're not gonna bring it to every fight. So I kind of feel that's where she's at right now, especially in terms of the S2. Again, looking at the damage, again, the mods are not super high on her, and if you look at the Mola, you're not gonna get that much damage out of it as well. So in terms of like a damage dealer, I wouldn't go for that. Probably gonna be ending up with like a speed set, immunity set or something, but focus high on effectiveness. I think that's where she's gonna be. The S3, interesting, 20 soul, it ignores effect resistance. I do like this mechanic, increasing skill cooldown to the max, so completely max. So I think this is the first hero to be able to do that on an offensive side and ignore the effect resistance on it, which is fantastic. Judge Kisei can go up to 3 turns, I believe, but that's AoE. But this can go all the way to the max. In terms of, like, let's say a Dark Corvus, and you had like ML Lidica with high effect resistance or with a cleanser, she, to be honest, would be very good for like baiting Dark Corvus, because all you really need to do is do the S3 and ignore the effect resistance when the time is right, and you're gonna stall that. Like, it's pretty easy, and Dark Corvus can't really do any damage with the S3. But of course, I'm not saying that to run her as a light bait in terms of like an Assassin Collie Dark Corvus, but that would be great. But it is a single target, so you have to keep that in mind. I don't think a lot of heroes can really benefit. Like, what I mean to say is, I don't think she really benefits from hitting a lot of heroes. I can't think of, in the top of my head, ones that would really like make or break like a certain, like maybe a Crow S3. Like, I'm thinking of like those one-shottable circumstances, and like maybe even a Yufine or something, so you could like kind of run like a low risk, because this does do all skill cooldown to the max. So I mean, it can be useful as long as, you know, they don't run an immunity prior to you running a strip, you know. So it can be quite interesting, plus that she can dispel, so technically she can go S2 into the S3 if you can dispel it. So again, like my example, if like Yufine is on an attacking team, she has an immunity set, even in the GVG 75%, if she's fast enough, she could cut in before Yufine goes again. So I'm just saying, like, if Yufine in the defense team comp was like the major threat, you could do something like that. So definitely a lot of flexibility, but again, like I said, it's gonna be a niche type of fight. And I definitely would think that speed set, immunity set, and a high as much like I think tankiness. I think for her to survive is pretty important, and as much effectiveness as possible. I think that will make her shine. Anyways, that's my quick thoughts on it. Oh, Mipple says her AI goes from S2 into S3. Oh, that's actually good then. So it doesn't go S3 first. If that is the case, it depends on the team comp. It does depend on team comp, but if it does, let's say if it does work and you bring a Dark Corvus to fight her, it's not gonna be too much. I mean, it's a 5-turn cooldown, even with the Mola on the S3, 4-turn cooldown on the S2. It's not gonna do much since Dark Corvus's first turn doesn't really matter, so it's kind of a waste for her to do that too. Plus, you could bait pretty easily, I think. That'd be quite interesting though. I'm just thinking about stuff like let's say Violet. If you could somehow force the Lidica to hit Violet, like run 2 tankier heroes, so that when she does this, when she does the S2, I'm talking about a ML Lidica on a defense team. So run 2 heroes that are tankier than Violet, and then have him on, like, let's say Alexa's basket. Have the AI ML Lidica go first. Do the strip, sure, why not? And then because it's AoE damage, Violet most likely will be lowest HP, and then she'll do this on him, which will reduce the school cooldown, so he gets a free evasion turn. That's pretty cool. Yeah, so if people do run her on a defense team, again, depends on the other heroes, but if you do run her on a defense team, I think Violet would be a massive counter for her. Again, depending. But anyways, that's kind of cool to look at. So we got Ravi and Sigar Scythe drop rate up. I'll talk about that in a bit. I want to talk about the new element summon as well. This is I think more incentive for people to do the world boss. So this is a currency that can be obtained as a reward during the world boss battles. I think even before the maintenance hit, even before the recording of this video, saw some screenshots of the rewards on world boss. It can be pretty salty for sure. Someone got I think it was double S or single S maybe. This image must be already shared all over the internet, so if you guys haven't seen it, definitely check it out. This guy got two 6,000 golds. I think two like tier 1 like runes, like 1 earth rune, 1 fire rune or something, and then it was something else that was really salty. Oh, like a level 70 epic boot. That was a health set, if my memory serves me correctly. That's exactly what he got. So it can be really salty. 6,000 gold. Yeah, NDBR, 1 red gear. Yeah, I think that's it. It was pretty bad. So I mean, in the sense of like, if you can get this currency from the world boss, it's pretty good. All right, it's pretty good. It is probably the best in terms of reward from it, since now you can actually summon a hero based on the element, and if you get really lucky, you can summon a 4 to 5 star hero, which is amazing, because the rate of you getting a 5-star is way higher in this case, and I think this would be the highest rate that you can get a 5-star. And you can select the element, so the pool is even more compressed, which is great, especially the dark and light ones. I mean, I can't even begin to imagine, like, when people use this, how hype it would be to get a 5-star ML hero. That's fantastic. So in terms of like progressing the system further, we always wanted like a kind of ML pity system, or some kind of system where maybe we could, like, you know, transmit our like salty dupes of like 4-star, 3-star ML, and then maybe eventually get like a 4 or 5-star ticket. They sort of answered us in this kind of half, you know, this RNG kind of way, which I definitely appreciate. So I don't complain about it, but definitely I think world boss, if you haven't watched part 1 of my RBTL on the patch, I'm definitely kind of like on the patch itself, but especially after seeing that screenshot, that was very salty. in terms of the rewards. But anyways, let's talk about talk about Fire Ravi and Sigurd Scythe. So even before I talk about Ravi itself, like, should you pull on this banner? I would say right now, I would say no. And I'll explain why. But there's a change in here, and I'm not sure if I like it. Now, I talked to some people in the morning. You know, they're saying that this is actually better because you can get like a rate up on an artifact that you might want, and also with a hero, right? I'm not sure. I mean, it can be good. It's more of like, I'm more worried about the coupling of the banner hero versus the artifact. So if there's a future banner, if they're gonna do this going forward, if there's a future banner that has, let's say, like a really good artifact but a really bad hero, you're more baited to pull on it. Whereas where it was before, let's say like the Bazaar rerun, all the reruns that we had before, like, people can just like really pick and choose. But we do know that at least mid game players should really start looking for duplicates of artifacts. Artifacts really change a hero, but end game players for sure will look for this. So I'm kind of half. I almost feel like if I was gonna pull for, let's say I want a Ravi, I would almost want all the 5-star artifacts to be at an equal percent. Maybe I'm crazy. Maybe I'm the only one thinking this, but that's my thought on it. I'm just more afraid of like a really bad hero and a very good artifact, and that can be salty. But regardless, yeah, we can see that, yeah, the increased rate is 1% on the Sigurd Scythe. So it's like a limited banner in terms of the artifact being with the hero. In terms of the rates, it's exactly the same. Fire Ravi, though, Capricorn, Warrior, and Fire. So really, she has identical stats to Fire Ken. Fire Ken is pretty meta in terms of an attacking hero. He's very safe to bring. He brings a lot to his kit, and he has high survivability. So in terms of if you're comparing Fire Ravi to Fire Ken, and you have Fire Ken, I definitely would suggest that you don't pull for Fire Ravi. There would be almost no circumstance where you would bring Fire Ravi over Fire Ken. Fire Ken is almost just as good with the Sigurd Scythe as Ravi is with her innate health. Obviously, I'm not saying that they are comparable in that sense. Fire Ravi has way more sustainability, but I think Fire Ken brings a lot more to the table in terms of completely ignore effect resistance defense break, which is just insane, and his self buffs are good too. So share the same base stats, so 7,000 HP, about 680 something defense, I suppose, and I think about 900, close to 1,000 attack. They are HP based bruisers, so when you are building them, high crit damage, you still need to focus on attack a bit. High crit damage, high HP, and of course some speed. Now if you're gonna build Ravi, though, I would definitely suggest that you build her on a counter set, kind of like ML Ravi. I'm gonna go through the mods, and then I'm just gonna go through the descriptions and my thoughts on them. The mod is a 1x mod with well, she actually is not a HP damage bruiser. I should reiterate that she's not, but people do build her high HP because you want her to survive with the high sustain. But anyways, let me continue. So 1x mod on the S1, but 2.5, which is insanely strong on the S1, but it does require 20 souls. Doesn't trigger a dual attack, and 38% of that damage is healing, especially if you have the Mola, so 30% healing there. And then the S2, every time she gets attacked, or every time she attacks, she gains and stacks up her attack, which is 15% attack per 20 fighting spirit. So really, you should focus her with, I think, higher attack than, let's say, ML Ravi and Ken. But the HP for the sustain, and of course the percentage heal would really help, so you don't overcap the heal too much. The S3 is a 1.2x mod, which is okay. It is AoE. It has a 75% chance to stun for 1 turn, and then decreasing the combat readiness of the stunned enemies by 100%, so pushing them all the way back. It can be very useful, but again, I think the reason why people don't use her instead of like Ken is that if you do miss, of course, like on the predominant ice meta right now, none of that really happens on her S1. And so the question is like, a defense break on a Ken, if it lands on an ice hero, would do more damage following up thereafter. Whereas Fire Ravi she can't bring that edge. The only thing is that's why I said she really should be built on the counter, so she can gain both the fighting spirit based on her attack or being attacked. So that's important to know. So I think if people run her on full counter set but with a speed boot, so I think roughly you should aim for about 2.5k attack, about 18,000 HP. 1,000 defense is like really default, but I think 1,200 is where you want. 150 speed would be any bruiser level, and an 80 plus crit rate and 250 crit damage. Those are always bruiser minimums. And like I said, I think 18,000 HP is good enough since she doesn't scale any more damage from the HP itself, but 2.5k attack is like a must if you need to, you know, get her high damage. Now that we have Draco Plate as well, it does make her a viable hero to actually use the Draco Plate. So definitely something to consider. And again, like I said, I feel like I'm tempted to pull her just because I like the bruiser role so much. But again, I do have Fire Ken, so in terms of am I gonna use her over Fire Ken, I'm not sure about that. But I'll probably see. What I'll probably do is see if I can clear the world boss. If I get lucky and get like a fire summon, like fire connection summon thing, hopefully I pull Ravi there. But we'll see. I probably won't pull her like right away. But I'll definitely consider it. Some people are considering to pull her for ML Ravi's imprint concentration. I'm not 100% sure if that's really worth it. If you triple less the ML Ravi as one of the incentives to pull on this banner, I think you get like up to a 27% effect resistance, which isn't much if you don't have a lot of effect resistance on her to begin with. So again, in that sense, I don't think that's worth it just because you want to imprint ML Ravi. Sigurd Scythe, of course, is a very good one. If you have ML Ken, Sigurd Scythe is his best in slot. I don't think I've seen anyone else use anything other than Sigurd Scythe for ML Ken. So if you do own an ML Ken, which I don't, I would highly recommend trying to get this artifact in one way, shape, or form. Whether it is on this banner or in a powder shop in the future, or Mystics even. But plus 30 Sigurd Scythe on ML Ken is a game changer. But that's only for people with ML Ken. Otherwise, Sigurd Scythe is useful on Luna. It is useful on any warrior with high damage that would be going into a fight that would be dealing chip damage back to you. So for example, if you're going to a fight, let's say against a debuffer Dizzy, and there's no other damage threats, Sigurd Scythe may come in handy because it will increase your attack and it heals back the health based on damage. So high damage warriors can really benefit from Sigurd Scythe, Luna, Yufine, etc. But anyways, it's a very nice one to have regardless. Very strong and robust warrior artifact. Anyways, that's my thoughts on the three there. So Faithless Lidica, Ravi, Sigurd Scythe, and then the new elemental connection, or not connection, the summons. So I'm gonna end this here. If you guys have Discord, check out the Discord server, follow me on Twitter, and subscribe to YouTube if you haven't. As always, thank you guys for watching, and I will see you guys next time.